Hey folks, before I do another reading from Gabriel's songbook, which I'll do probably in the middle of the coming week, I thought I would share with you a little bit about Runion, as I have recreated it for the fiction that I write. Gabriel's songbook is set, probably at least a third of it is in Runion. The rest of it is in Nashville and on the road in various places. But the short story collection that I've just finished writing all takes place in Runion. So anyway, I thought I would just share a bit about that. So what I'm going to do is just a couple of minutes here, just kind of going through some images. I'm going to share my screen and you can see the stuff that I have to show you. If I don't mess anything up here, hang on just a second. Let's see if this works. I can find the right thing. There it is. Okay, so hopefully now you can see this. To start with, the reason I decided to do this, so obviously, Madison County is the place where I grew up, and that's the place I still, well, I can't say this. That's the place that I knew best for a long time. So I forget that I've lived probably now in Tennessee, well, definitely including Nashville. I've lived in Tennessee longer than I did in Madison County, but those places that you grow up, they stay somehow vivid in the memory. There's a couple of things. This is from the Southern author, William Faulkner, who wrote, I'm going to look at this first one, this second one down here first. So this is something he said in 1956. He had written a couple of novels, 3 novels, I think, that were set in various places in the South and not very successful. And then he said this to the Paris Review in 1956. He said, "I discovered that my own little postage stamp of native soil was worth writing about, and that I would never live long enough to exhaust it. And by sublimating the actual into apocryphal, I would have complete liberty to use whatever talent I might have to its absolute top." So what Faulkner did, was take the area around Oxford, Mississippi. He turned it into his Yoknapatawpha County and changed the name of Oxford to Jefferson. At least that's the way I think it went. I'm not a Faulkner scholar, but anyway, so that's what I decided to try to do, is to make Madison County, specifically Runion, my own little postage stamp of native soil, even though I was actually born in Sumter, South Carolina. I grew up from about the age of 5 or so in Madison County in Walnut. This is a Rand McNally. Well, let me go back to this other thing because I want to just point this out because I put it here. I think this is an appropriate comment that Faulkner made in 1951. It's in one of his novels, and I can't remember which one it is right now, but he said something that I think is really appropriate for us, and it's appropriate for those now that we have a lot of people saying that our political situation, our racial situation in the United States and in the South in particular, perhaps, is based on something that happened long ago. We don't have anything to do with it. But Faulkner, I think, disagreed with that. He said, "The past is never dead. It's not even past." Okay, so anyway, just kind of mull that over a little bit. Anyway, so let's go on. So this is a Rand McNally map from the early part of the 20th century, about 100 years ago, maybe a little more. And so you have here, if you can see my little cursor moving, let's see, why did that change? Oh, okay. So here is Runion. So this is Madison County, this yellow block here. This is Madison County, North Carolina. You got Greene County, Tennessee, and Unicoi County up here. So here's Madison County. Here's Mars Hill, Marshall. You have Walnut down here in the middle, sort of. And just northwest of Walnut is Runion. Just before you get, Runion is on the river, on the French Broad River, just before you get to Hot Springs. So that's an early 20th century map of Madison County. So I keep going the wrong way, sorry. So for those of you who are not familiar with Madison County, but you're sort of familiar with the Southern Appalachian area, I'll show you where we are. So down here at the bottom, we have Asheville, right? Over here on the far left, we have Knoxville. Up here in the northeast of this picture, we have Johnson City, Jonesboro, which is where I live now. And so Madison County is down here. So again, here's Marshall, Walnut, Mars Hill, Hot Springs. And Runion, since it doesn't really exist anymore, is not on this map. So this arrow points to Runion, where it is approximately in the context of this whole map that you have before you. Okay, so moving on. Okay, zeroing in a little bit, and just to give you another view of it. Here's Marshall. Mars Hill's off on 213, off to the right of the screen. This is 475 Walnut Drive. That's the house where I grew up with Mom and Dad and Mama Reeves and brother Jerry. And then up here is the Runion area. So you got Hot Springs way up here in the top left corner. So Runion is right here. So you can see approximately where it is in the geography of a closer look at Madison County. All right, and just one more of these, I think, for now. This is the French Broad River, as you can see. There is an area down here called Stackhouse that I was familiar with. My brother was more familiar with it growing up because he worked for Gilbert Stackhouse a good bit during his high school, maybe even college years. I think he's painted the Stackhouse. And we used to go there on church picnics and such as that. So I knew it a little bit, but Jerry knew it better. And so you have the railroad tracks that go around, and Runion is over here, okay, around the bend in the French Broad River from Stackhouse. Okay. So this is, I named the park in Runion. I named it Stackhouse Park. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say on that. Well, I will point out this Big Laurel Creek is comes down and sort of swerves around this hill that Runion was on. It comes into the French Broad down here. Like I said, this is the railroad track, but along the creek, running up to the old mill wheel between Walnut and Hot Springs is the Laurel Creek Trail that you can take, and I'll have a couple of pictures from that in a few minutes. All right, so this is a little bit on the real Runion. This is one picture I found from back in the day when it was actually a sawmill town. This is a little text from somebody who hiked. Margaret Williams, who hiked the Laurel Creek Trail. And these are some of the scenes that you will see down in the Runion area. Of course, the river's French Broad is beautiful as always, even in the winter, as you can see. Various pilings that were foundational for buildings and other structures in the Runion area. This is the vault, I think, where the mill kept its payroll and various documents. It's all very thick concrete walls, and so it stands there in the woods. Of course, it's been graffitied fairly well. But anyway, you just come upon this and these other little structures as you near the river coming down the Laurel Creek Trail. All right, so back in December of 2019, before we all had to hunker down for the COVID-19 pandemic, my colleague and friend Scott Honeycutt, seen right over here, he and I took a walk down the Laurel Creek Trail to Runion, and so stopped at the vault, the Paymaster's vault, and took a handful of pictures there. So advertising, wearing my colors here, the ETSU colors and hat, got it all going on there at the vault. Now up on the ridge, this is sort of up in this area behind where Scott and I are hanging around the vault at this moment. Behind here on the hill are some remains of houses. I think my brother and Jerry and I traveled down here several years ago in the spring, and I think we were thinking that I think it was the Betts family perhaps that owned the sawmill in Runion, and probably this more permanent structure had to do with their housing. The people who worked in the mill that you saw in the pictures just previous had much more temporary, just wooden structures for houses. I think none of that really remains. Although I guess you could probably dig up some tins and things like that. This is just another scene of that. You have the sort of foundation of the house, obviously the chimney. When my brother and I were there, and I can't remember which side of this this foundational structure it was on, but it was like going out either the front door or the back door of the house in the spring. There was still, 100 years later, whatever, a line of jonquils that was blooming as if they were, just along the sides of the walkway, either to the front or the back of the house. So a very poignant kind of memory. I know I've got pictures of it somewhere, but I can't find them right now. Anyway, so there is the structure that you see in Runion. Now this is a little map that I drew at some point when I was beginning to work on the novel and on the short story collection. So this is my idea of Runion and how it's sort of set up. It's set up, this is jumping all around. It's kind of set up like Marshall, with a one street, Main Street, and a back street, coming off the river, Main Street, goes down across the Laurel and then continues on toward Hot Springs. But I've just got the buildings sort of identified here with a little key, giving Runion its own pizzeria. There's WMMH, the radio station, which, let's see, I don't think, I don't know if that's what it is in Gabriel's songbook or not, but my character Jay works at that radio station. So I had initially Runion College as an idea here. I think you'll see in a later map that it's changed to Runion State University. But anyway, so that's how I envision my little postage stamp of Runion, North Carolina. Okay, so as I was saying, I modeled this little town largely on Marshall, and partially on Mars Hill as well, and a little Hot Springs thrown in for good measure, I think, as well. So this is Marshall, North Carolina. Over here, down in this bottom right-hand corner, you have just a piece of think it's called Blennerhassett Island. We always just called it the island, where people went to school, right? Lisa and I went to school there. Jerry went to school there, our siblings. So anyway, this is, you'll see a picture in a minute. I'll show you. Blennerhassett, this island is sort of how I envisioned Stackhouse Park for my Runion setting. So I took a lot of poetic liberties with the geography there. But anyway, so Marshall is one model. This is Mars Hill. So this is basically just the university there at Mars Hill, where I went the first 2.5 years of my college career as a music major there at Mars Hill. So beautiful, beautiful mountain setting. And so I think about this when I'm thinking about Runion State, which Runion State doesn't show up much in Gabriel's songbook, but it plays a fairly significant role in some of the stories in the collection. Okay, so this is a close-up of Runion. Again, you have the river. This is just a closer view than the one with Runion and Stackhouse a little while ago. So a closer view, there's the French Broad, the railroad tracks, almost cussed right there. Don't mean to do that. If I remember, I mean, I think the paymaster, the shack is somewhere down in this area. The trail comes in down through here. So somewhere in this area is the shack. The other stuff, the chimney that you saw is more up on this hill. So you can see this shape, almost a kind of triangle shape. And I tried to keep that in my more recent and more detailed map of Runion, which is like this. Right? So you can see the kind of triangle shape that goes up through here. So again, the same main street, French Broad, and I, as you can see, I moved the island over close to this shore to make Stackhouse Park, and I've got a river walk, a walking path down there, so we've got Main Street and Back Street and various things, more detailed. As the short stories developed, I had a more detailed idea about what the Runion State University campus looks like. So this is, again, this is not laid out with a computer like the other one was, but these are the various places in Runion. If you've read Gabriel's songbook, or if you're gonna tune in for the reading coming up the middle of this week of chapter 1, you find that Gabriel and Eliza, in their young married life, live in an apartment on the 3rd floor of Ramsey's funeral home. So that's this one, number 20 right here. So Ramsey's funeral home, and the apartment there, that idea came from back in the 60s. Our grandfather, paternal grandfather, Caney Cody, and the woman we knew as Grandma, lived in the Bowman Funeral Home in Marshall, downtown, lived in an apartment on the top, I don't know why it's doing that, lived in an apartment on the top of the funeral home. And I remember there was right outside their door was another, across the little hallway was a door that I think, if I remember right, was the storage room for the coffins and things like that. Right, so you can get a sense the shape of Runion and the shape of my town here. Okay, all right. So I thought some of you might be interested in how that came about. So, as I said, I'll be back and do a little bit of reading coming up this week, the last week in July. I'm participating in the Appalachian Writers Virtual Workshop this week, but I hope to find time to do another little video reading of the first chapter of Gabriel's songbook. Okay, all right. If you check this out, thanks for checking it out, and keep an eye on this for other videos and other materials. I wanted to say, look in the comments, once I post this, look in the comments below. I've got a link to my friend Scott Honeycutt, is a wonderful map maker. So I want to, at some point, I want to try to get him to make a better map of Runion than the one I've been able to do myself, which I'm not an artist at all, but Scott does some wonderful Rambler's Guides map, he calls those. So I'll put a link down there to where you can see what he does and maybe order some of his maps. All right, thanks a lot. See you later.